My brother stole my wife and laughed in my face. She was never happy with you anyway. He smirked as they spent my money on their new life. You were just a stepping stone, she scoffed. Tossing our wedding ring in the trash, I let them have their fun. Until the day they realized what I did. 4 days later, they were screaming on the phone. I never thought I'd be writing one of these posts, but here I am at 2 a.m., typing this out on my phone while sitting in my car outside a Denny's. Life has a way of throwing curveballs, but this one's a whole different level of messed up. It started 3 months ago when my brother Fletcher moved back to town after his construction business went under in Arizona. My wife Lori suggested we let him stay with us until he got back on his feet. I agreed. He's my brother after all. Looking back, I should have noticed how eager she was to help him. The first red flag was so small I almost missed it. I came home early one day and found them laughing in the kitchen. Normal enough, right? Except Lori immediately stopped laughing and moved away from Fletcher like a teenager caught doing something wrong. Fletcher gave me this smirk, the kind that makes your gut twist but your brain tells you you're overthinking. Then came the phone thing. Lori started taking her phone everywhere, even to the bathroom. She'd angle her screen away when texting, and I noticed she'd switched to using her fingerprint lock instead of our shared pattern. Yeah, we used to have that level of trust. One night, I woke up at 3 a.m. and she wasn't in bed. Found her in the living room, quickly closing her laptop when I walked in. Just couldn't sleep, she said. Right. Fletcher started finding reasons to be around whenever I wasn't. He'd offer to keep Lori company while I was at work, saying he was job hunting online anyway. He got a job at my company through my recommendation. I'm still kicking myself for that one. But somehow always managed to have different shifts than me. The breaking point? Last week I checked our joint account to pay some bills. Half our savings gone. $23,000 just vanished. Transfers to another account over the past 2 months. When I confronted Lori, she laughed. Actually, laughed. What did you expect, John? She said, not even trying to hide it anymore. Fletcher and I are leaving. He's actually going somewhere in life. Unlike you. You were just convenient. Fletcher walked in then, that same smirk on his face. She was never happy with you anyway, bro. You're just too dense to see it. Thanks for the startup money, though. We've got big plans. I stood there, watching my wife of 8 years grab her pre-packed bags. Guess that explains her shopping trips lately. She took off her wedding ring, the one we picked out together at that little jeweler's downtown, and dropped it in the kitchen trash. You were just a stepping stone, she said, walking out. They thought I'd explode. Yell? Maybe try to hit Fletcher. But I just stood there, calm as could be, watching them leave. Fletcher looked almost disappointed at my lack of reaction. What they don't know is that I've known for weeks, and I've been planning. See, while they were busy playing their little game, I was playing one of my own. Every late night at work was me gathering evidence. Every guy's night out was me setting things in motion. They think they're so clever, but they have no idea what's coming. I'm not going to rage or beg. I'm not going to drink myself stupid or key their car like they probably expect. No, I'm going to do something much better. Something that will make them regret ever thinking they could play me for a fool. This is just the beginning. They're probably celebrating right now, thinking they've won. Let them have their moment. In a few days, they'll understand exactly what kind of man they decided to cross. I've got more to share, but it's getting late and I need to make some calls tomorrow. This isn't over, not by a long shot. I'll update when the next phase begins. Edit. Thanks for all the support in the comments. To those asking if I'm okay, I am. Better than okay. I'm focused. Update. It's been a week since my last post, and I can't thank everyone enough for the support. After Fletcher and Lori's betrayal, I promised you all I wasn't just going to roll over. Here's what's been happening. Remember how I mentioned Fletcher's sudden lifestyle changes? The new Audi, the expensive vacations, the designer clothes? Well, it turns out my dear brother wasn't just stealing my wife, he was stealing from his company too. And Lori? She was helping him every step of the way. I started noticing things were off about 6 months ago. Fletcher would constantly brag about his side hustles and investment wins. But something didn't add up. He was living way above what his salary could support, even with the overtime he claimed to be. Then I caught him slipping up during a family dinner, talking about a trip to Miami he took during a week he was supposedly working late on a big project. Here's where it gets interesting. Being in the same industry meant I knew exactly what projects he was working on. The numbers he bragged about didn't match what I knew about contract values. Small inconsistencies at first, but they started adding up. I kept my mouth shut and started documenting everything. Every time Fletcher mentioned a project, I'd make a note. Every time he showed off something new, I tracked it. Lori was always defending his success, saying I was just jealous. Fletcher knows how to make money move, she'd say, rolling her eyes at me. Now I know why she was so confident. She was helping him cook the books. The real kicker came when I found receipts in our shared cloud storage that Lori forgot to delete. Invoices for materials that never existed, padded expense reports, fake vendor payments, all funneled through shell accounts. They weren't criminal masterminds. They were just sloppy and arrogant. I spent 3 months building a file. Every transaction, every lie, every manipulated document. I wasn't about to let them pin any of this on me when it all came crashing down. And trust me, I made sure it would crash. Last week, after they cleared out our joint accounts, I made an anonymous call to Fletcher's company's ethics hotline, followed it up with an email containing just enough evidence to start an internal audit. I knew exactly which projects to point them towards. The fallout was beautiful in its simplicity. Fletcher was called in for a meeting on Monday morning. By lunch, he was escorted out of the building. No dramatic scene, no big confrontation, just a quiet exit with a cardboard box of his belongings. His face, though, priceless. He knew exactly who was behind it, but he couldn't prove anything. Lori called me screaming that evening. "How could you do this to your own brother?" she shrieked. I just laughed and hung up. The same laugh Fletcher gave me when he told me about their affair. Their perfect little world is starting to crumble. Fletcher's reputation in the industry is shot. Those investment wins they were living off of? Gone. The new house they put a deposit on? They're scrambling to get out of the contract. The best part, everyone's starting to see through their facade. Our mutual friends are reaching out, telling me about all the red flags they noticed but never mentioned. Even Fletcher's closest friends are distancing themselves. Nobody wants to be associated with someone who'd steal from their company and their own brother. I'm not done yet. This is just the beginning. Fletcher and Lori thought they were so clever, building their new life with stolen money and stolen trust. They forgot one important thing. I always play the long game. To those asking about legal action, don't worry. Everything I did was perfectly above board. I just made sure the right people knew where to look. The company's internal investigation will handle the rest. More updates to come. The dominoes are still falling, and I'm just getting started. Edit. Thanks for all the awards and supportive messages. To answer some common questions, yes, I've protected myself legally. No, I'm not worried about retaliation. They're too busy trying to save themselves right now. And yes, there's more to come. They haven't hit rock bottom yet. Update 2. It's been 2 weeks since everything blew up, and I can't say I'm not enjoying watching it all fall apart. Quick recap for those just joining. My brother Fletcher and my wife Lori betrayed me, stole my money, and tried to build their perfect life together. Well, karma's been working overtime lately. First, let me tell you about last Thursday. I was having my morning coffee when my phone started blowing up. Apparently, Fletcher and Lori were having a massive screaming match right on their front lawn. My next-door neighbor, Tanya, who's been keeping me updated, sent me a video. There was Fletcher, still in his pajama pants, yelling about how they're completely fucked and how Lori promised this would work out. Lori was throwing his clothes onto the lawn, screaming about how he ruined everything, and she gave up a good life for this. The best part? All the neighbors were watching. Some even had their phones out, recording the whole thing. Fletcher and Lori didn't notice. They were too busy airing their dirty laundry for the whole neighborhood to hear. Tanya told me Lori was screaming about how Fletcher promised her a better life, but now they can barely make rent on their crappy apartment since he lost his job. Remember how they drained our joint account and Fletcher took out loans using our shared family business credit? Well, it turns out living large on stolen money only works when you have a steady income to back it up. Without his job, those loan payments are crushing them. They tried getting help from our family, but that door slammed shut when I showed everyone the proof of what they did. My cousin sent me a recording of Fletcher calling our mom, begging for money. Mom's response? "You made your bed with my other son's wife. Now lie in it." Click. That's my mama. Always had a way with words. Last weekend was our annual family barbecue. Guess who weren't invited? While I was there enjoying Mom's famous potato salad, Fletcher and Lori were probably eating ramen in their apartment. Our Aunt Martha, who always loved Fletcher, came up and hugged me, saying she was so sorry she didn't see his true colors sooner. The family support has been overwhelming. Turns out blood isn't always thicker than water, especially when you betray your own brother. Lori tried reaching out through Instagram last week. "John, can we talk?" I made a huge mistake. I left her on read. Then she started posting these sad quotes about regret and second chances on her stories. Fletcher must have seen them because he went on a rampage on Facebook, posting about how she's ungrateful and just as bad as her ex, meaning me. Real classy, bro. The cherry on top? They had to sell the new car they bought with my money. I drove past them yesterday in my new Ford F-150, bought it with my recent promotion money. Turns out focusing on work instead of revenge actually pays off. They were arguing outside a payday loans place. Fletcher looked like he hadn't shaved in days, and Lori, well, let's just say that designer wardrobe she blew my savings on isn't looking so fresh anymore. Their relationship is crumbling faster than a sandcastle at high tide. Tanya told me they've been fighting every night. Apparently, Lori found out Fletcher's been messaging his ex on WhatsApp, probably looking for his next upgrade. The irony would be hilarious if it wasn't so pathetic. I heard through the grapevine that Lori's been asking around about job openings. Her Instagram influencer dreams aren't paying the bills, shocking absolutely no one. Fletcher's been drinking more, according to my cousin who spotted him at the local bar, drowning his sorrows and telling anyone who'll listen how life's unfair. The best revenge. I didn't have to do anything except let them self-destruct. Well, maybe I helped karma along a little by making sure everyone knew the truth, but they did most of the heavy lifting themselves. Tomorrow, they're meeting with the bank about their defaulted loans. I know because Fletcher drunk texted me at 2 a.m., alternating between threats and begging for help. I didn't respond. Some bridges aren't worth rebuilding. I'll update again soon. Something tells me this house of cards isn't done falling yet. Edit. To clarify, no, I won't help them just this once. Actions have consequences, and they're finally facing theirs. Final update. It's been about a month since my last post, and wow, things have really hit rock bottom for Fletcher and Lori. I honestly didn't expect it to spiral this far, but here we are. Let me start with last Tuesday. I was grabbing coffee at that small place near our old neighborhood when I ran into my cousin Sarah. She told me Fletcher had been calling everyone in the family, desperately trying to borrow money. Apparently, they're 3 months behind on rent for their fancy apartment, and the landlord's threatening eviction. The best part? They can't even afford to move out. The karma train wasn't done yet. Remember how Lori always bragged about her amazing job prospects? Well, her new workplace caught wind of how she helped Fletcher steal from his previous company. No criminal charges, but word gets around in our small town. She's been shifted to entry-level tasks, and her promised promotion, gone. Fletcher showed up at my door last week completely drunk. He was a mess, unshaven, wearing the same wrinkled polo shirt I'd seen him in at Mom's house days before. "John, you gotta help me out," he slurred. "Just a few grand to get back on our feet. I'm your brother, man." I just stood there, watching him sway on my porch. "Remember what you said when you took my wife? She was never happy with you anyway. How's that happiness working out now?" He tried to play the family card, talking about how Mom was worried sick about him. The same Mom who he'd been avoiding since she found out what he did to me. I shut the door in his face. Later that night, he spam called me from different numbers, leaving increasingly angry voicemails about how I'd ruined his life. The real kicker came 3 days ago. Lori texted me, "Can we talk? I made a huge mistake." I actually laughed out loud when I read it. She followed up with a long paragraph about how she'd been confused and Fletcher manipulated her. Classic Lori, never taking responsibility. I replied with a single photo, her throwing our wedding ring in the trash while saying, "I was just a stepping stone." My phone exploded with notification. First came the crying emojis, then the desperate explanations, finally ending with, "You're being cruel, John. This isn't you." "No, Lori, this is exactly who I am. The person you thought you knew? That was the stepping stone." Yesterday, I heard from my aunt that they had a massive fight in the parking lot of Walmart. Fletcher was screaming about how Lori ruined everything by spending their savings on designer bags and vacations when they should have been laying low. Lori was throwing stuff from her purse at him, yelling about how he promised her a better life than what she had with me. Real classy. They tried damage control on Facebook, posting about weathering storms together and fighting against those who want to see us fail. Nobody's buying it. Their relationship status changed to "it's complicated" this morning. Mom called me earlier today. Fletcher's sleeping on her couch now. Lori changed the locks on their apartment. She's apparently been on Tinder, telling people she's separated. Meanwhile, Fletcher's drinking heavily and telling anyone who'll listen that he had it all before Lori came along. The best part of all this? I barely had to do anything. Just sat back and watched them destroy themselves. Their web of lies, the stolen money, the betrayal, it all came crashing down on its own. You reap what you sow. I'm doing better than ever. Got a promotion last month, started hitting the gym regularly, and I'm seeing someone new. She's wonderful, honest, hardworking, and most importantly, has never met my brother. Life's funny sometimes. A year ago, I thought losing Lori was the worst thing that could happen to me. Now, I realize it was the best thing. They wanted to use me as a stepping stone? Well, I became the rock they broke themselves against instead. Fletcher and Lori thought they were writing some great love story. Instead, they're living out a cautionary tale about karma. And me? I'm just enjoying the view from higher ground. Edit. Thank you all for the support throughout this journey. For those asking, no, I won't help them get back on their feet. Some bridges stay burned. Edit 2. To clarify, yes, they really tried to blame me for their current situation in family group chat. The screenshots of that conversation are something else.